So old Joe managed to keep it together for 20 minutes to read a teleprompter without screwing it up or any major gaffes. And even though he still kind of looked like the deer in the headlights and he was a little stiff in his motion, the general overall consensus from, those experts in the media, he did great. It's the best speech of his life. He's never been this good. And that was the stuff even coming out of the so-called panel at Faux Pas News, formerly known as Fox News. Okay, great. So he can read a teleprompter. Can he go 90 minutes without being told what to say in a freestyle, off-the-cuff debate? Yeah. Hey everybody, Pastor Marty here with the weekend edition of the afternoon debate. Just enjoying a cup of coffee and a little chat with you. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, smack the bell, and click the word all to get notifications of my next rant. Thursday night, the DNC 20 wrapped up with Joe Biden, now the official Democratic nominee for Presidente, gave his acceptance speech, and it was about 20 minutes in length. And again, the optics of this. First of all, the just outright farce of, the media was just fawning over the outdoor event where selected Joe Biden supporters were given last-minute invitations to, hey, come watch it live. But they didn't really get to watch it live. They were like at a drive-in movie. They're all outside the arena in a parking lot. And again, they had the parking lot all done up with red, white, and blue lighting. And they had big jumbotrons that they could watch their guy give his scripted telepromptered speech. And they even had giant American flags on the building. And I couldn't help but think how many of the progressive lefts, how many of the people that really just absolutely consider the United States of America so vile, so reprehensible, that we have to kneel on the flag, we have to support people like Colin Kaepernick, that the NFL this year is talking about not only will every coach and every player definitely they will kneel during the national anthem, but there will be no more live national anthem singers. That will all be canned music so that eventually they can just phase it out completely. And can you imagine what had to be going through the minds of BLM and the progressives and those who are in the streets, wanting anarchy right now, to see their guy shrouded in the American flag? And here's the thing. You look at that, and even Hollywood stars knew it was a show. John Cusack, who is certainly no supporter of Donald Trump and wants Donald Trump gone no matter what. Even he was tweeting out as the DNC was rolled out this week that it was a carnival show, that it was all just showbiz. I mean, Julie Louise-Dreyfus, she wasn't funny on Saturday Night Live, and the only reason that she was funny on Seinfeld was the fact that she was, being the stereotypical neurotic female, which, is always good for a laugh. That said, in real life, she's not that funny. And she tried to crack joke after joke after joke. And again, humor works best when people laugh. It just does. And she was trying to make fun of Mike Pence's name as a way that many of us don't still know how to say Kamala Harris's name. And nobody was calling her Kamala until she became the vice presidential nominee. Everybody called her Kamala. Even the people who are now chiding us for calling her you're not calling her Kamala. You don't know how to say her name. Nobody did. And then all of a sudden it was like it went through a name change. Like, remember when we used to call them Iranians and now we're supposed to call them Iranians? Yeah, okay. Sorry, missed the memo on that one too. Kamala. A socialist by any other name is still a socialist. So it really doesn't matter. So Kamala Harris, and they tried to crack jokes about, Mike Pence's name. Is that peons, poons, pons? It was just awful. And then there stands Joe Biden. Now, again, he was the benefit of low expectation. Let's be honest. But I got to be honest with you. I never thought he was going to just stand up there and be one gaffe after another. I didn't think he was going to come out and say anything stupid during his acceptance speech like, hey, black people all think alike. He does that stuff when he is unscripted and off the cuff. That's Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, when he had all of his mental faculties firing on all 8 cylinders, said things like that. Joe Biden, who is now an 8-cylinder motor running on 4 cylinders, is going to really say some outrageous stuff. But he was scripted, and you knew he was well rehearsed. And you know that they rehearsed him right down to what should he do with his hands and where and when. And it was 20 minutes. And it was just one cliche after another cliche. Things like, light will always shine brighter than darkness. Wow, Joe, that blew me out of the water. I mean, did you have to stay up all night and think that up? Was this just this epiphany that came to you? I mean, it was like it would be like somebody taking a bunch of Hallmark cards and stringing it together and creating a song, and everybody's like, wow, that's like the deepest, most thoughtful, like, love song I've ever heard, man. And listening to the media fawn all over this, you just shake your head. You got Anderson Cooper, the guy who gets paid $12 million a year to read a teleprompter 1 hour a night for CNN. $12 million a year. $1 million a month. Or, I guess if you do the math, based on 5 shows a week, roughly, $50,000 per show. And don't you love it when they lecture us, or they think that they're empathizing with us, what the American economy is going through and what this means to the average American when they're earning $12 million a year to read. Yeah. They couldn't even do what I do, which is I sit here with no teleprompter. Once in a while, if I'm going to give you a direct quote, I might have the quote in front of me. Occasionally, I'll put a little piece of paper up with handwritten 4 or 5 bullet points. I want to make sure that in the course of my dissertation, I hit those 4 ideas. I don't even have that today. I've got a cup of coffee, I got my mic, I got my camera, I got you. So, the media fawning all over what an outstanding job Joe did. And then they're always taking pot shots at Donald Trump. Well, he's off the cuff. Yeah, that's not easy to do. Well, he's half off the cuff and half teleprompter. Yeah, because again, he's got political experts around him telling him, you got to read the teleprompter. You got to do this right. Personally, Donald Trump does best without the teleprompter and when he's got a live audience that he feeds off of that energy. And I can tell you, as a preacher, as somebody who, forgive me for saying it this way, earns his living standing up in front of people, yes, there is an art form to being able to publicly speak. And one of those, for me, is I say things that I know purposely will get a response, and I feed off of that energy. And the same is true for Donald Trump. But there's old Joe standing there at his teleprompter, and he got through pretty much gaffless, and that's fine. I expected that. But here's where he's boxed himself in. On the one hand, let's remember, he's not out there campaigning. He's living in his bunker basement. Donald Trump is out on the road every day. And by the way, lately he's been giving some events where he's been in hangars and there's been people and there's been crowds. He needs to do that from now until Election Day. Because they're not going to let him hold his big rallies. And they've got the American populace scared to death to attend any of them. Do you know that these absolutely reprehensible so-called human beings, the political left, have blamed Donald Trump for the death of Herman Cain? You heard that, right? That Herman Cain attended his rally there in Tulsa, and that's how he got coronavirus and died. I mean, these people have absolutely no real conscience whatsoever. They will just say anything that they need to say to stir up their base and get elected. See, again, Donald Trump, for 3 years, has tried to fight off the accusation that he colluded with the Russians to get elected. And Rush Limbaugh said something on Friday that I have been saying on here since day one that I first began to hear the whole Russian collusion narrative. The reason Donald Trump is so vehemently opposed to that narrative is not, he doesn't have any problem admitting that he wanted to work with Russia and that he thought, Russia and the United States working together on certain things could be a pretty strong alliance. We pulled it off in World War II. But Donald Trump is a man of achievement. Doesn't he love to point to all of his stuff and say, look at this building with my name on it. Look at what I've done here. Look what I've done there. He doesn't want in any way to have his presidency tainted by that he cheated to get it. No, nay. He doesn't want that because there wouldn't be any point in having it then. Donald Trump is a man who is driven by his own pride, and we can admit that. He's driven by his own pride, and he is proud of what he has accomplished. And let's think about it. He did what nobody thought could be done. A political outsider came in against the strongest political machine at that time, the Clintons, definitely the best financed political machine of that time. Not to mention all of the Wall Street money and all of the billionaires like the George Soroses who are, seemingly have this endless stream of billions, if not trillions of dollars hell-bent on destroying the American way of life. And Donald Trump came in and upended all of that and got elected. And the thought for him that he did it by cheating, it just drives him to keep pushing this. We need to get to the bottom of this. We need to investigate this. It isn't about cover-up. It's about he wants the real truth to come out. He wants them to admit it. He did it. He beat them. The left, on the other hand, can't get elected on their actual ideals because they're so radically dangerous. They're so radically off the wall. So they don't mind getting elected by cheating. In fact, it's what they know. That's why dead people vote. It's why people who've never existed get to vote. It's why they want illegal aliens to vote. They win by cheating. And then they act like after they've stolen an election that somehow they have this mandate from the people to govern all these libloon ideas they shove down our throat. That's why the president is so concerned this election cycle about the type of mail fraud which could happen. But I digress, because that was not the purpose of this. It was about Joe Biden. So while the president is out there every day, fielding questions, talking to people, engaged, actually running the country, Joe's had quite a little rest, hasn't he? Kind of like Hillary Rotham Clinton. And remember, she managed to get through some debates, but we all knew there was something wrong. She'd get out in public and collapse in the sunlight. Most vampires do, by the way. She'd get out in public and collapse. She would, at her own convention, when the balloons started dropping out of the air, it was obvious there was something wrong with her. My opinion is that Joe's got himself boxed in now, because on the one hand, that he thinks, aha, I'm back. I need to get out there. Now, his people aren't going to let him out there. No. I mean, they turned him loose the next day for an interview. Was it Good Morning America, ABC? One of those friendlies. And he was asked an interesting question. Mr. Vice President, soon to be president, we hope. Mr. Vice President, if medical science said we needed to put the nation through another national shutdown, would you? And he, right away, absolutely, if that's what the scientists say. So Joe Biden is telling you, yes, a second shutdown is coming under a Biden administration. He's also telling you that from now until eternity, anytime any scientist or any other so-called expert has something they want to do that they want to force on the American people, shutdowns, going to lose your job, going to lose your way of life, that take you out of the norm. This is the new Democrat plan going forward. This is why, if for no other reason, you've got to keep Donald Trump in office. Why? Because he is the only one that pushes back on this. Even most Republicans are quiet about Fauci-Stein and shutdowns and wearing masks, etc., etc., etc. Joe Biden will have us in a mask forever. It's a gag, it's a bit, it's a muzzle, it's a slave muzzle. And by the way, didn't he look stupid, he and his wife standing up there in their masks the other night? What? You two wear the mask when you go to bed at night? Just wear a full body mask, and then that way she'll know you're not trying to touch her in the middle of the night. We have to listen to the science experts. You know, there was a time that science thought the world was flat. There was a time the experts thought, hey, you know what? The best way to treat somebody that's dying, we've got to leak the bad poison in their blood out of them. And so they would bleed people to death, literally. The doctors who worked on Abraham Lincoln after he had been shot, the doctors who worked on Garfield after he had been shot, knew nothing about bacteria and knew nothing about changing dressing and keeping wounds clean. But they were the experts. We have to do what they say. Okay. So, we never ever listen to all of the scientific data and determine a course of action. Because again, what Joe Biden is counting on, and let's be honest, he doesn't really have any intention of having to shut the government down again, or shut the whole nation down again, because even he does understand. I think there's still a couple of functioning marbles up there that even he does understand the economy to some degree has to be operational. What he's counting on is during this election cycle, and this is what I mean how this pandemic is being used politically, he understands that during this election cycle, the majority of people are scared. Even Major League Baseball right now shut down the Mets-Yankees series because one Met player tested positive. And of course, they have to make Florida look like the villain state. Well, they've had 3,000 new cases, and New York City only has 1,100. You couldn't pay me to want to be sick in New York City right now. They've got the nation on edge that, God, can't get the virus. It's a virus. Just about everybody is going to get it at some point. And again, I've been over this ad nauseum, and that's not the purpose of this video to explain. It is not the death plague. 99.8% of the people who get it will recover. Most like that. Many won't even know they even had it. Some of us think we've already had it and been over it. But keep driving that fear. Can't vote in person. We might have to close down the government again. You'll be amazed on November 4th how fast this all goes away. Or how all of a sudden we're told we can live with it. Here in the state of Ohio, we're under a mask mandate. Everywhere you go, gotta wear a mask, gotta wear the mask, wear the mask. But the governor comes out this week and says, yes, we can have fall sports for high school, because I'm really looking forward to going to some high school football games. Really? Is that right? So let me get this straight. I gotta wear this to get into a supermarket. But two dudes, 200 pounds, sweating, spitting, can roll around on the ground knocking heads together, and they don't need this. Their football helmet is plenty. Fine, I'm going to start wearing football helmets now into Walmart. The fact that you aren't seeing the whole political scam behind all of this, it's unconscionable what these so-called political leaders and so-called experts like Fauci, who've got a vaccine they want to pawn off on us. And by the way, Joe Biden is not also telling you he would shut the government down again. He is telling you the vaccine under his administration will be mandatory. And the Democrats are going to do this every time they've got some new lunacy to ram down our throats. Take us out of our normal living conditions, make us as uncomfortable as possible, drive fear, and force us into capitulation. There you go. And Joe Biden, in a lucid gaffe, said that in his interview the day after his nomination. Now, here's what President Trump and the Republicans need to do moving forward. Absolutely demand he debate. You know they're not going to let him debate. But say, hey, he did. You got all these, and you got it. The way you do it is you get the media to drive the narrative. You put all kinds of pressure on the media as they keep fawning all over this wonderful speech that he gave. Great, then he can handle a 90-minute freestyle debate, right? No script, don't give him the answers ahead of time, make him stand there. Now, he had gaffes during the primaries. And think about it. He had opportunities where he'd be in the middle, well, my time is up, because he lost his train of thought. And he had opportunities to stand there and regroup because there were lots of other people on that platform, you know. It wasn't just Kamala and Joe Biden going back and forth against each other. You know, Bernie and Elizabeth Warren would go back and forth against each other, trying to prove to their base which one was the bigger socialist lying wingnut. In the presidential debate, it's just Biden and it's just President Trump. He won't have time to stand there and regroup while, you know, Andrew Yang explains why he wants to give $1,000 away every month to every single human being. He's not up to it. His handlers know he's not up to it. What you saw Thursday night was exactly what John Cusack, flaming Hollywood liberal, said it was. A carnival show. Reality TV. And in reality, Joe Biden is mentally incapacitated and absolutely not presidentially up to the job. So do you want his radical handlers picking people that you did not elect to actually decide how we will live? Hey, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself an awesome weekend.